let's move on and let's also connect with Saurabh Agarwal, tax partner at EY India. Hi Saurabh, good morning and good to be speaking with you. First up, give us your first take on the reciprocal tariffs being announced and how do you see the different sectors getting impacted, barring pharma and IT. Yes, of course, they are on the divergent ends and we are definitely seeing the market reacting to the same. But apart from that, how do you see the overall impact on the Indian markets and especially the Asian markets?
Good morning. When I look at the overall reciprocal tariffs, what is coming out is, and it's very important to put certain facts over here. The overall exports to US has been around $87 billion from India. We are into a trade surplus of around $45 billion. And when I look at total exports from India to other countries, US contributes around 18% in terms of that volume which we export to all other countries. Now, if I look at specifically, what I foresee is that it's very important to understand that the tariffs compared to that levied on China and Vietnam, India still has around 7% to 19% arbitrage. And I'm only talking about those additional tariffs which have been levied yesterday. So what does it entail? It entails that our product will be more competitive compared to that of Chinese product or Vietnamese product because of that particular arbitrage which has been given to us. But it's more important to look at from perspective that how much exports are happening to US from China and Vietnam. What you will see is, and I did some bit of data crunching looking at 2023 numbers. What I found was that textile exports to US have been around 18.9 billion plus 10.14 billion from China and around $37.57 billion from Vietnam. And when I look at telecom, machinery, or to that extent, broadcasting equipment, India has been only exporting around $6 billion to US, whereas China has been around $54.5 billion in terms of broadcasting equipment and machinery, around $88.98 billion. And when I look at Vietnam, around $57.99 billion. What does it entail? That if there is such a big delta of 7% and 19% between what are the exports which are happening from China and Vietnam currently to US, there is an opportunity for India. But saying so, it is also important to understand that there will be opportunity lost for China and Vietnam to that particular extent. And if that happens, they would also target some of those countries where India has been exporting many of these products. So it will not be like that there will be no effect on India. But of course, what is also important to understand is that how the US consumer will react to this, because there will be surely an impact on the consumption pattern. So whether they will react in terms of less volume of consumption over there, maybe a small impact over there, and that has to be witnessed in a short run. And thereafter, what has to be also looked into is how the trade negotiations play between US and other countries after release of these particular reciprocal tariffs.
Very good morning to you, Saurabh. Cheryl also joining in the conversation. And yes, we have to wait and watch and see how actually the US consumers also digest this particular development, given the fact that the harm will be as much on the US economy as much it is on the other trading partners of the United States. But, let's talk about India, because now India is going to face a difficult trade-off, if you look at it, between slowing exports and also if you talk about the domestic market dislocation. How do you think we'll be able to actually go ahead and counter this two ends of a pole at this point in time?
Say that it is a blessing in disguise for India, and specifically when I look at, and I was trying to point out that point in my last answer as well. Notably, Indian tariffs are significantly lower than those imposed on China, wherein China tariffs are around 20 plus 34%, 54%, and Vietnam is 46% respectively. This disparity presents an opportunity for Indian manufacturing industry, particularly in telecommunication and textile, to expand its presence in the US market. Even with tariffs, Indian products retain a competitive advantage over Chinese and Vietnamese products due to higher tariffs levied on those nations. And that being said, I potentially look at it as an opportunity for the Indian manufacturing sector rather than looking at it as a potential loss for the sector. Of course, the competition which the Indian manufacturers will have to face is in the other geographies where these Chinese and Vietnamese manufacturers will try and gain the larger market share. It will also be important to see how Indian government look at it from a policy perspective, because in many of these sectors, whether it is textile or telecom or automotive, there has been production linked incentive schemes which have been been rolled out in the past around 2 years or 3 years back. Now, whether the government will extend these particular PLI schemes in order to enable these manufacturers to garner a larger share in their US market, that has to be looked into and watched for.
Right. Saurabh, I would like to read between the lines that you were speaking and the way you said that it would be a blessing in disguise for the manufacturing sector. So clearly you are actually seeing the glass half full rather than half empty at this point in time, right? So let's talk more about that then. Let's talk about the fact that yes, we have to now step up our manufacturing. But what about the other trading partners? Because we know that India is now negotiating pretty hard with a lot of nations. And just a few days ago, you also had Xi Jinping talking about the fact that India and China should actually mutually agree to do trade. And also, he did say that the dragon and elephant can tango. So we need to show the world that together as well. So how do you see now the negotiations taking place with other trading partners?
When I look at the Indian government is effectively doing a lot of negotiations with UK, European Unions, and other countries as well. It has to be looked into over a period of time as to how the overall reaction of these countries will come on the current reciprocal tariffs and how they will try and bring, you can say, their acts together to come across with the overall holistic approach to deal with the US tariffs. When I look at from a China perspective, it appears that somewhere at least both the countries are trying to partner together, wherein India do needs a technology from China in order to boost their manufacturing. And we do understand that there is a lot of skilled manpower which is available in the country. We have a lot of R&D going on. But still, if we are able to bridge that gap between India and China and somewhere come to a conclusion on that particular piece, the technology will come into India faster. That will help and enable the manufacturing sector to garner more share in the world market and be a manufacturing hub for the world at large.
All right, Saurabh, we let you go on that note. Thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking with us this morning.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.